The country's divided. There's no doubt about it. We're divided on so many different issues. Everything from Israel to Palestine, Ukraine and Russia, vaccinations, unvaxxed, non-vaxxed, anti-vax. The division has been crazy, and it's never more amplified, Johnny Latta, than when a big bus drives out on the highway, the Vaxxed Bus. And boy, oh boy, that is like a magnet for hatred. We've seen it so many times. John, you and I attended the 30th anniversary of the Australian Vaccine Risk Network, or the AVN, and we listened to their stories. It was incredible. And what they've gone through, not only to bring truth to people, but to the abuse that they copped. Meryl Dorey, in particular, copped incredible abuse, and yet they persist. And it takes a great deal of courage, and it takes a great deal of fortitude and authenticity to go out in that bus and face the world with the truth. And that's what these ladies are doing. We have the head of the AVN, Aneeta Hafemeister, joining us again. Always great to have you on, Aneeta.
Yeah, great to be back, lads.
And Rosemary Marshall. Rosemary, you and I have bumped into each other around the traps. You've been incredibly instrumental in the Sydney area, in particular with Forest of the Fallen, and you're doing some great work. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having us on. This is exciting, a new step for me, certainly. Going ahead with this with Aneeta and the Vaxxed Bus. I'm really excited.
Well done. Well done. Johnny Latta, as I said, we were at the 30th anniversary. We were both touched, weren't we?
Yeah, Hoodie, and I think what surprised me were some of the stories, not so much of the vaccine injuries, but I mean how this organisation suffered the adversity that it did by being thrown out of venues or stopped from even going into them to actually talk and endorse what's happening. Around the country with the vaccines. And look, I know it's going on with Forest of the Fallen as well. You know, I've heard Rosemary a couple of times on Chris Smith, and luckily we've got some people out there in the media that are doing the right thing and being very balanced with their reporting on this stuff.
Yeah, it's good to see a bit of balanced reporting for a change. And we're not seeing enough of it, though, obviously. And that Four Corners program, the cancer generation, the other day was just a clear indication of just how biased the media have become. So, Aneeta, I'll start with you. I know it's a big effort for you. You're living on a property in central Western Queensland. You've got a lot of work to do there, but you've been dedicated to this cause for a long, long time. A cause that's seen the rise of people who are seen as rally organisers, people like Michael Sims, Tricky. These guys are all seen as sort of protest agitators, but they cut their teeth in the AVN because they had experiences with their own children, didn't they?
Yes, both Michael and Tristan had vaccine injured sons. Michael's son is quite severely injured. Tristan's son, luckily, they were able to heal a little, but no, that's what a lit a fire under them men. And yes, Tristan was on the AVN committee for several years. He was the original bus driver on our first Vaxxed Bus tour, which was 5 years ago, pretty much today, in the height of all that COVID craziness. We were driving around in the Vaxxed Bus. We were really popular. And looking back, we were insane to do that. But this issue kind of drives you to that because for so many years, we had been trying to get the message out. And, at one stage, Meryl would be interviewed on mainstream media channels and we could advertise here and there and you kind of could have the discussion. But from about 2010 onwards, after the no jab, no pay push by the Murdoch media, we weren't basically allowed in the mainstream media anymore because that would give false balance. That's what we were told. It was false balance to even discuss the other side of vaccines because, as we know, they're just safe, effective and wonderful always. So in 2016, when the Vax documentary in the US came out, that's when Polly Tommy started the US Vaxxed Bus, and that was an incredible groundswell for our community. So we discussed getting a bus then, but to be honest, getting a bus is to 2020. We couldn't advertise anymore. We couldn't get on mainstream media anymore. We couldn't even get a billboard with just our website on it, with just avn.org.au on it. So we decided, bugger it, we'll get a bus. So we decided to get a bus in like February of 2020. And a month later, Australia locked down. So we said we're going to do this anyway because we knew they were going to come out with a vaccine very quickly. That was the narrative. But honestly, the first vaccine problem we saw with COVID was they started pushing the flu vaccine on people. They started mandating that for old people's homes. So that was the first slew of injuries we saw from COVID, was all these forced flu vaccines when they brought out, to save the hospitals, don't get the flu. So, yeah, we saw some horrible injury and death stories just from that flu vaccine push for Morrison. And then the COVID push came. And, ironically, sadly, in those 2020 tours, we asked everyone we interviewed, what do you think of this vaccine that's coming? And everyone said it's going to be terrible. It's rushed. It's new technology. We don't know what's going to happen. And then after that, Meryl toured after the vaccine and she was getting all the COVID vaccine injury stories. So it's really interesting. We got the before and the after on that bus. So, no, that bus, we're crazy to do it. And every day I wake up on that bus, I think how absurd it is that that's what you have to do to try and get this message out. But sadly, that's how it is. And, it's an incredible journey, but it's also very heartbreaking because we know there's going to be a lot more stories this time.
Oh, man, you are going to be swamped. And Rosemary Marshall, you're one tenacious lady, I tell you. I remember meeting you with Philip Altman in, where was that, Narrabeen?
Warriewood, when you were doing your tour.
When we were doing
Philip was hoping to gain the seat of Manly in the state election.
That's
Gave
right.
it a good push. He did, yeah.
And it takes a certain amount of tenacity. Do you care what other people think about you, Rosemary?
No. It's a wonderful thing. I'm 70 now. I don't mind saying it. And you get to the point where this is bigger than me, and I really don't care. I've got some fairly interesting trolls, and I don't often look, but people tell me they pick and choose what they publish about me on their troll pages. And they always choose things that are just nonsense. They never get to any of the meaty posts I put up there, which actually tell people things like this latest Japanese study that they've done on 20 million people, which has had the most terrifying results. Oh, they never say anything about that. They pick something ridiculous, like I've aligned the A with autism with vitamin A or something nonsense like that. So they don't like to look at anything that's too controversial, do they?
No, that's true. And Dr. Paul Marrick's interview, for example, won't rate a mention. The one we've just done, John, which really, I mean, any Australian that cares about the well-being of their children and grandchildren should at least look at this information and put it out there. But no, there's too much interest in, bringing people down and bringing people undone. But anyhow, that's the thing, and that just highlights the division that is in this country at the moment.
I'm sorry about that. The phone. It'll stop in a moment. Sorry. My landline never rings.
So, Johnny.
What can I say? What a great opportunity this is to educate people out on the road. I'm just hoping, and I'm pretty sure that your route doesn't take you there, but the Blue Mountains, is that on your list?
Katoomba.
We are going to Katoomba, and I would love to do drive-bys at the mayor's house and wave and say, "How you going?" Because this is the thing, we're banned from the Blue Mountains Council and we're banned by the Sydney City Council, but I don't know if that still stands. So I don't even know how any of that works. It's kind of hilarious. I mean, we wear that as a badge of honour, but how ridiculous is that?
How is it legal to ban someone from driving a bus through your shire?
Or to park on public lands. I don't know. That's what I mean. Like, I don't know how that goes. It gives us great street cred. We got to thank them for that. It's a lovely talking point. But it is crazy. Like, that's free Australia, people. That's the country you're living in. If they don't like what you're saying. And, all we do is stop and interview vaccine injured people. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing. Like, I don't know why that's such a high crime, but but that is the fear that our little organisation and our little bus puts in the hierarchy. It's quite astounding. Talk about the little engine that could. We've also always sort of fought out of our division in the amount of hatred and reaction we get. So I guess that means you're over the target. I don't know, but it's hopefully this time, well, we don't know. It'll be interesting the feedback we get this time, because I know how horrendous it was when we first toured with the bus. Although people wouldn't come up and attack us at the bus, they would get on the local social media pages and make all sorts of horrible threats and say all sorts of horrible things about us. So with the media would never front up to us. They would do hit pieces on us. Like a Current Affair did a hit piece on the bus. A few local papers did a hit piece, but never once did they ask us for any sort of comment whatsoever. So, but I think the tide has turned. It really does. We're not really releasing venues and locations, so straight up. People will have to follow us to find that information, because as much as we think the tide has turned, we still don't want to be losing venues and that too much ahead of time, because as Rosie said, the haters are still pretty active, and they are pretty effective usually at hating on your venues enough for them to cancel, which we don't want to happen this time. So the best thing people can do is go to our website at avn.org.au and sign up for our newsletter. That we will send all the information out that way. We will have our social media link tree updated and on the website today, and we'll also have interview booking links. So I guess I should give you where we're going. On the 3rd of August, the bus is going to be at Coffs Harbour. On the 4th of August, we're going to be at Port Macquarie. On the 5th of August, we'll be at Newcastle. On the 6th of August, we'll be at Gosford. On the 7th of August, we'll be at Narrabeen. The 8th of August, we'll be at Penrith. And the 9th of August, we'll be at Katoomba. Having a great time.
That wonderful little woke mayor, he'll give you the keys to the city. He will, because, he's as woke as they come, that bloke. And if he's watching this, and I'm sure he is, because he loves Club Grubbery, the acronym for woke is willfully overlooking known evil. That's what you're doing, Mayor, whatever your face is or whatever your name is. So come on out and talk to the ladies at the Vaxxed Bus. Now, you're going to have some great support, I know, from Hoody's Heroes along the way, especially in Coffs Harbour with Kath Turner and the crew. Port Macquarie, there's Melissa Hogan. I'm sure she'll be on board with all of that. These are wonderful people. And Hoody's Heroes, get behind this tour and get out there and support the bus when you see it. Stand around it and make it known that a lot more people are interested now than they ever were. That's the key, Rosemary, is getting awareness, is it not?
Absolutely, getting awareness. Well, I am finding that the whole attitude is changing. We don't get much pushback anymore. And it's interesting, when I do speak to young parents, a lot of young parents have woken up to this. COVID has, in a horrible way, done us a favour. But what I am seeing now is that the people who are injured are still too daunted by coming out and saying it. They're daunted because their families don't like hearing about it, their friends don't like hearing about it, and they're frightened of being ostracised. And they're also frightened about discussing it at their workplace for obvious reasons, in case their injury means they'll lose their job. But I think it's more the social side of it that affects people. And then, of course, the other side of that is that so many of the injured are still being gaslit. And it just broke my heart watching Tanya last night on your show talking about faith. I mean, that and the money that's cost them, and the unnecessary injection of that beautiful young girl with so much going for her. This is the sort of thing we see so much of at Forest of the Fallen. But the apathy is what worries me. Virtually everyone I speak to, I say, well, did you report this? And they say no, because it's been almost normalised. People will say to me, ever since I had the booster, even the first vaccine, my heart has not felt the same. And they don't do anything about it because it's normalised by their doctor. They say, oh, it'll get better, don't worry. Oh, it's just short term. But I've noticed more and more that the people who are injured aren't getting better, unfortunately. A lot of them aren't getting better. And I don't know what the ramifications down the road are for those who've had temporary problems, whether it's going to flare up again. I mean, obviously no one knows, we haven't got the data. But I am fearful for them that this isn't going away. It doesn't just, I know through an experience that both I've had and a family member have had with our hearts. I got pericarditis some years ago after a flu vaccine. And I know that does scar your heart. Thankfully, I've been unaffected, but my family member, I'm hoping and praying that little one's unaffected. But we don't know because we're never told the truth.
It's so true. Aneeta, the bus, I suppose, takes on a forest of the fallen sort of feel, doesn't it? I mean, you've got the vaccine-injured stories on the bus. It's really confronting, isn't it, for some people to see what these vaccines have done and the horrific carnage that's been caused by them. Do you think, though, that there's a real opportunity with that changing of the guard by the health department on the 3rd of June, recognising that that cohort of people under 18 should never have received the vaccine? Is that something that you'll be highlighting on the trip, do you think? I mean, because I think GPs are still unaware that the changes have occurred. I think people are unaware that that cohort of patients were badly affected. It could be an opportunity to say to people, yeah, look, even the government now recognises that these vaccines were dangerous.
Yeah, it seems a little too late for so many people. That's the awful tragedy of that, isn't it? You think of all the deaths and injuries from the children, and yeah, well, it certainly helps. I mean, it very rarely does the government backtrack like that. So they certainly didn't announce it in a press release and haven't done a press tour about it, have they? As you say, a lot of us didn't know. We're not even sure exactly when that advice changed. Like, that's even conflicting. Like, they certainly just quietly slid that in. So no, that certainly helps to say, hey, look, the government said it was completely wrong to do that. And I mean, but the apathy, like, you'd think the anger would be there. You think of all those children they forced into stadiums without parents and basically, you know, jabbed in an assembly line. Just horrific. I mean, it's truly horrific when you think back as to what went on. And the fact that nobody's held accountable for that, it's like, oh, actually, we've just changed the advice now. Yeah, no worries. You know, there's nothing. And, you know, the compensation program's even closed now. Like, it's just, they just shut that door and move on, because who's going to hold them accountable anyway? That's just the way it is. And, you know, we've always known this is a grassroots battle. It always is. You are not going to get this from the top down. All you have is the people at the bottom finally standing up and saying, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. Or enough people quietly quitting the vaccine schedule. That's what it's going to take. And I mean, you will see every fear campaign. I don't think, what's the latest one? Plague? Is Plague the latest one? Oh, I lose track, you know. And the latest COVID variant was something Frankenstein. I don't know, but it'll be measles, whooping cough. Every time we go on these tours, there's more of that fear mongering, because that's all they've got left is this desperate fear mongering, rather than just have a rational conversation about the actual risks around vaccines. You know, it's truly amazing. And yes, the bus is a memorial. It is a driving memorial. It is just, and you know, it's so sad when people come to the bus and you can point to the names and tell the tragic stories. And sadly, a lot of those stories on the bus are dead babies, a lot of so-called SIDS babies. You know, there's just so many, and you never get used to it. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty jaded after 20 years of activism in this, but it's never not sad. It's never not sad when you hear another horrific story. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to face us this time. I also want to point out, though, that we don't just do vaccine injury stories. We are also happy to talk to families who chose not to vaccinate. It's also very important to get their story out as to why they chose not to, what they've been through, a lot of them what they've been through with no jab, no pay. And sadly, in a lot of families, what you have is vaccinated older children and unvaccinated younger children, and the health comparisons, because the older children were injured and yeah, and the younger ones aren't. So, you know, we love to encourage people of that to as well. But even if you chose not to get the COVID vaccine and you just have a story of, you know, it's kind of like what Michael does with Cafe Lockdown. If you just want to come and tell your story on the bus, please come and do that, because, you know, that's what we need. We need people to speak up, which was why we got the bus originally. We wanted our community, because the American activists are quite loud. A lot of the Australian parents are very quiet because of the attacks they get. So signing the bus, you have to tell your story on the bus to sign the bus. And that was our way of, you know, getting people to come and speak out and actually have their say, because their stories are so important. And there's so many of them. And afterwards, they're usually so glad they do tell their story, because they, you know, we can't help them. We can't help heal their child. We can't do anything, but we can give them that validation. And that little bit of love and courage on the bus does a lot for people. So, yeah, go to avn.org.au and there'll be booking links there, and definitely sign up for our newsletter and follow us on all the socials you can, because, yeah, we'll be getting information out as much as we can closer to the day.
Rosemary, the international health regulation looks set to be ratified in about 4 days' time at the time of recording.
Mm.
What sort of message is that? What sort of feeling is that giving you? What does it mean to you if that IHR is ratified?
Well, it chills me to the bone, frankly. But I think there are so many of us, and simple non-compliance at this point, I believe, is the only way. Absolute non-compliance. They can't put us all in prison. And I think that's all we've got left. But I did just want to add on to something Aneeta just said about how therapeutic and wonderful it is for people to discuss their injury publicly. Just as an encouragement to people to keep speaking up now that this is becoming much more, well, a little bit more mainstream. I had a wonderful conversation with a young man over in Perth, and he won't mind me saying his name because he really wants to put the word out. His name is Riley Patterson, and he's a remarkable young man because he was absolutely pilloried by both his family, his friends, and everywhere he went because he was severely injured. And I saw a video he put out saying, I'm going to tell the truth and say what happened to me. And it's a very, very sad story. And I made contact with him. And then I spread the word on my social media. And since then, we've had a lot of communication. And he said the thing that he found the most touching was the enormous amount of support he got from the unvaccinated and the love, care, and concern he was shown. And not for a moment did he feel that he was being criticised for having taken these poisons. And he's really doing his best to encourage all the vaccine people he knows over in Perth, and he says he knows many, who are still reluctant to speak out, and just is full of gratitude that once you speak out, it's a huge, huge load off his shoulders. He can feel he can be honest with his community and his family, and it's also encouraging other people to have the bravery to speak up as well. So I just wanted to say that about the benefits of really being honest.
Yeah, you can't beat it. It's like a weight being lifted off your shoulders. It's a wonderful joy to be comprehended, isn't it?
It is.
It is. Aneeta, you'll be away for how long?
Well, I'll leave here. I get to the bus on the 30th because I've got to fly down and get the bus sorted because the bus hasn't been on the road for a while and do all the background stuff. It's not just driving a bus. Like, I'm remembering how crazy we had to do this because the organisation this takes is actually quite intense. And can I just say we are so glad Rosemary's coming on board. It wouldn't be happening without Rosemary because we just don't have enough team at the moment. But Rosemary is like the missing link we've had. So we're just so thrilled. And thank you to Inform Me, who are also collaborating with me on this, with the ABN on this, so that their help is much appreciated. You know, there's so many groups out there now working for this cause to get information out about vaccines. Yeah, so I'll be away from home for 12 days, which we're mustering next week at Westgrove, and then we'll be weaning. So it'll be a bit full on, but you know, this is just what you got to do. This has been my life for many years now. You just have a full-time farm job and a full-time activist in your spare time. So, you know, that's what it takes. That's what it takes, is enough people that are crazy enough to speak out, because, you know, sometimes you feel like you're getting absolutely nowhere, and then, you know, you hear of a child that, you know, reacted after vaccines and they stopped because they learned, or, you know, they chose not to vaccinate because of information. So, you know, it's been a long slog, but it's what's that saying, things happen very slowly and then all at once. I think we're nearly at the all at once stage. That's how it feels like. But, you know, there's just been so many deaths and injuries over the years. It's just truly horrific. And, you know, I feel for our team that's been doing it for so long, because, you know, it's hard. It is hard. We do have a very dark sense of humor and try to laugh when we can. But when you look at what you're up against, sometimes you just wonder what you're doing. But, you know, you just keep doing what you can do. That's always I've tried to do. I don't try to win everything. I don't try to be across every issue. I've picked my lane. This is my lane, and this is what I do. So, you know, I just hope more people come out and support the bus this time. And, you know, I would love to put out a press release this time, though, and see another wave of hatred in the media, because that always helps our cause. It always helps. So we'll see what they do with this time. But no, I'm really looking forward to having Rosemary on the bus, and I think it's going to be another incredible journey.
Who's driving the bus?
A lovely man called Derek and his lovely wife Michelle are going to offside for us, so that's going to be wonderful. Yeah, we've been busy, having some very busy meetings planning all this. So yeah, because as you can imagine, the bus isn't something you can just park anywhere and do anything with, so it's all a bit logistical. But yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. So does Derek and his lovely wife know what they're in for?
Oh yes, they've been in this for a long time. They've been in this fight for many, many years. And yeah, I think they're at some of those Sydney rallies that, I don't know, I think they might have even got arrested at one of those Sydney rallies during COVID. Like they're hardcore on the team. They
Good.
know how crazy you have to be to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Johnny.
And what's going to happen with the Forest of the Fallen over those few weeks, Rosemary? Is it?
Oh, I've got the most fantastic team, and Tom and George Kessick and the boys, as I call them, will be running that. It's become a little bit of a meeting place of like-minded people, and we'll hold the forest usually between 11 and 2. Out on whichever day of the weekend is the better weather, and then we'll go off and have a coffee or a glass of wine at the end of it and have a little debrief about what's happened. So that will continue while I'm away, and they're very reliable. The only thing that will stop them is a high wind or a lot of rain, but I think that will still continue. And actually, interestingly, we've changed because of the winter, being winter here, we are putting it not on the sand because people aren't going down on the beach. And we've had no trouble from the council. I'm not anticipating there's going to be any trouble either because we've been doing that for some time. So things are changing, which is very pleasing to see.
Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating when I say that not just the interviews that I do at every forest, there would be at least 4 or 5 people who come and tell me of their injuries that perhaps don't feel comfortable in doing an interview. So when you think of perhaps 9, 7, 8, 9 people every weekend in our very narrow field here on the northern beaches telling us what's happened to them, I think that gives you a fair indication of just how underreported this is. It is very underreported.
Did we see an interview? I think it might have been from your group, of a young police officer.
Ah, marvelous man. Actually, that was last weekend. Yes, he was really interesting. We had quite a long chat with him, and I wanted to get his details, but he had his family there, and he rushed off. But he actually contacted me yesterday, and he said, "I've got a lot more to tell you." So I'm looking forward to hearing more of what that gentleman has to tell us. But the way the Gladys Berejiklian and all her cohorts behaved over that they were completely natural, no masks, laughing, joking, acting like they were having a party. And then as soon as the cameras came out, after being briefed by the media what they were going to be asked and deciding what they were going to tell, so none of it was spontaneous. They put their masks on and looked very sour and frightened and tell us not to talk to our neighbours and to not catch a football in case you catch COVID. Honestly, looking back, it was such insanity. And they were just charlatans, all of them.
I guess I'm going to trigger you, Aneeta Hafemeister, when I mention a certain name in a moment. And that name is Jane Holton.
Oh, yeah.
I knew I
Yeah,
would.
she's in everything.
I mean,
She's
Jane
in everything. Well,
Holton.
you go, Hoodie.
She's one of the most sinister bureaucrats in the country. There's no doubt about it. She was underpinning everything that was happening with the no jab, no play, wasn't she?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She's just got a finger in every pie. And see, she was at that in 2019 when they ran that event 201 or 101 or whatever it was, when they did a simulation of exactly what they did in COVID. She was there. She was there. They knew what was doing. And as you all know, I don't believe in virology. I think this has all been a complete scam. So their plan in 2019, she was at that. And a big part of that was the censorship. Like they were talking about that then. Like when you start all this, what you're going to have to do is censor everybody. So, that's what they did. And I have to say, because we lost our Facebook page and all that, I think, gosh, very early on. We lost our YouTube, I think, March of 2020. They were pretty quick on the censorship of anyone who had our opinion, I can assure you. But we've actually been able to borrow or use, one of our friends has a Facebook page called No Jab, No Pay, No Way. And we'll actually be streaming on that page this time around and see how the censorship is now. So, hopefully it's all turned around a little bit. But whatever it does, we're gonna stream somewhere. So, watch this space.
Well, you can use our platform, and we'd love to do some interviews with you on the tour if that's going to be possible.
It'd be wonderful.
Yeah, in our spare time. Yeah, no, that'll be great. That'll be great. It'll be. I don't know what condition we'll be in, Rosemary, but it'll be great.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite full on because it is very emotional interviewing people. I find after doing Forest of the Fallen, I sleep pretty well. Oh, well, when I say I sleep well, I've probably got bad dreams, but I'm certainly tired afterwards.
Yeah.
It's tiring.
Yeah, well, we just love the way you girls keep on keeping on. Johnny, any final questions or comments?
Well, only Rosemary, have you run into my mate Brad Hazard up there on the northern beaches?
Haven't I told you that story? We were in the city. My husband won't come into chemists or go into the city with me anymore. He's taken a real dislike to going out to those places with me in case that we meet someone that I'm going to speak up against. But yes, we were in George Street and he was just getting into a tram. And I said, "You're Brad Hazard." I mean, he's actually quite a tall man. And from what I'd seen, I imagined he was a little rather insignificant looking man, but he's actually quite a big man. And I said, "You're Brad Hazard." And he rather proudly turned around and said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "Well, you should be in prison. You're a terrible man. You should be in jail." So he scuttled down into the tram at that point. So I hope he had a very awkward trip with everyone else watching him.
Did he
I
say
hope they
anything
agreed
back?
with him.
Did he say anything at all?
No, no, cowards. They're all cowards.
They're all cowards. They're very good in front of a press conference with masks on and using those eyes in a certain way to make everything look serious and stuff like that. No, anyway, all we can do is hope that justice will be done. But the main thing, justice is important, but we've got to have recognition for what's going on so people can start healing. There is. We were told in the interview with Paul Marrick that spike protein that was said to linger for 2 or 3 days after the injection is still in some people 1,400 days after their vaccination. And all this, there could be so much great research done if somebody would come up with and legalize a spike protein test so they can quantify the amount of spike in people's bloodstreams and how many people have got it. He confirmed that viral shedding or spike protein shedding is definitely confirmed. That's a real deal. That is happening. They've got the proof. So, in actual fact, we shouldn't be divided at all. We should all be together because whether you were vaccinated or unvaccinated, chances are you're running around with spike protein in you, unless you've been living on a desert island somewhere. And even then, you might have some risk. But, we've got to get behind the solutions. And the solutions, once they're dealt with and people are getting healed and we're slowing down the rate of turbo cancers, then obviously there needs to be an investigation to make sure that these events never happen again, that people are held to account so that we're not enabling bureaucracies and governments to continue treating people like meat. So these things that we're doing, Club Grubbery, what you're doing with Forest of the Fallen, Rosemary, Aneeta with the AVN, all these things matter. They all make a difference. We want to see justice, but we want to see healing. So we're going to support this as we have done we've been supporting the AVN for a long, long time, gladly. And we look forward to chatting with you ladies as you're touring. Hopefully you can find the time.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Yeah, wonderful. We appreciate all this help.
Well, Johnny, we might close with a prayer, shall we?
Sounds good, Hoodie.
Lord Father in heaven, we need all the help we can get because we want to bathe in the light of truth. And Lord, we know that the truth must come out. It is coming out. So help us to be diligent and responsible and dedicated to the task. Give us the strength and courage to face down those who hate us for what we're doing. And Lord, we're not doing this to be right. We're just doing it because we need to. We can't see anything else to do in this time of crisis that faces our country and indeed humanity. So guide and lead us is our prayer. Be with the Vaxxed Bus as they travel. Keep them safe. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Johnny Lardy, you've often been heard to say,
You just couldn't make this stuff up.
and you're not.
No. And let's hope the Vaxxed Bus has a fuel injection problem at Katoomba.
Oh, I love it.
Have a rainbow flag ready to fly off the back of it just to appease him in some way. Just to appease him in some way. God bless him. What's his name, that bloke?
Oh, Stephen someone, I think.
What's his face? I don't know what his face is anyway. That's a nasty way of saying what's his name. It's irrelevant, really. It's just irrelevant people who are getting off on having control over their fellow citizens. Look, everyone, if you love Australia, stand for it. It's worth it. And whether you agree with us or not, we still have compassion for you. We still love you. And we've got to start sharing that around a bit more. This hatred and division is just garbage. And anyone who's about to mock us for what we've just done, lots of luck with that. Have fun with it. We hope you find it entertaining. And we look forward to you watching more of our programs on Club Grubbery, and stay out of the trees. Bye for now.